Hi, I'm Tony from the Moral Mission. I want to talk to you today about something that's very important to me, food. Well, more importantly, about meals. So these days, meals are something that people would say it ain't what it used to be. And you know what? They're right. These days we're eating meals out of convenience. We're grabbing fast food. We might not even be sitting while we eat anymore. The meal times are still very important for gathering as a family. This could be the only time that you get to spend with your parents and your siblings during the week. Or maybe the only time to spend at all if your weekends are just as busy. It's important outside of families too. You know, when you're trying to date someone, meals are an important part of that. You know, you take someone on a first date, take them out somewhere nice to eat. You share that time together, sitting down and getting to know them. It's an important part of learning about someone and growing your relationship with them. It's also an important part of friendships as well. Bringing people into your home and sharing a meal with them. These are all great ways. They're important parts of growing friendships and keeping friendships. An important meal in history, before Moses led the Israelites out of Egypt, he sacrificed a lamb. And then they ate the lamb that they had just sacrificed. And this wasn't just any lamb, it had to be a perfect, unblemished lamb. And they did this so that God, in his judgment on Egypt, would pass over them. He did this before leading them out into the promised land. This meal was so important that from then on it was celebrated every single year by those people of faith. This was really more than just a meal. So it's important to take the time to remember to come back and slow down with your family, your friends, your boyfriend, your girlfriend, and sit down and share a meal with them. This meal now is what we celebrate as Catholics. We remember Holy Thursday, the night that Jesus celebrated the Passover meal. But in this special celebration of the Passover, he changed it forever. So you need to take the time to remember to slow down, sit down, and share a meal with the people that you love. Holy Thursday kicks off the Easter Triduum. This is the beginning of the crucifixion and the resurrection. This Passover meal was special because Christ himself was going to be the Passover sacrifice. This time, Jesus brought his disciples together. He knew what was coming when he broke the bread. He prepares his disciples, institutes the Eucharist and the priesthood. He washes their feet. This was his time to say farewell to his faithful disciples. So one time, I was going on a 10-day adventure into the wilderness in New Mexico. And before we left, we were in Denver. Night before we were going out, spent a nice meal at a big steak restaurant. And some of the guys were joking that this was going to be our last supper before we set out into the woods. But in a way, it is kind of the same. We had together as fellowship in a nice, comfortable space, one last meal to share. We needed this time of the meal and the fellowship to prepare ourselves before we went out to undertake what we were going to do in the woods. It's much like the disciples needed the Last Supper to prepare themselves for witnessing the crucifixion and later the resurrection. Us today as Catholics need the whole Lent season, the 40 days of praying and fasting to prepare our hearts for Easter so that we can truly celebrate the resurrection. Spending the day on Holy Thursday celebrating Mass is a great way to reflect on the day. It's the last time as Catholics that we get to celebrate the Eucharist before Easter Sunday. And a great way to end Holy Thursday is with adoration. You get to spend time staying up with Jesus like the disciples stayed up praying with Jesus in the garden. Just make sure you don't fall asleep. So remember to celebrate Mass on Holy Thursday and go to adoration if you can. It's a great way to remember the day. But don't forget that we really celebrate Holy Thursday, the Last Supper, every Sunday. So remember that next time you go to a Sunday Mass.